This is the Sequential Fourm. It is a fully analog 4-voice polysynth. It features 2 voltage-controlled oscillators, based on the legendary Pro 1 monosynth, a poly aftertouch keybed, and it is currently the most affordable sequential polysynth to date. In this video, I want to show you what it does, what it sounds like, and try to help you decide if this is the sequential you've been waiting for, or if this is just a false prophet. For full transparency, please know that Sequential were kind enough to send me Fourm at no cost so I can make a 4-part video series, where I'll be exploring sound design and making music with it, but they have no say over the contents of these videos, nor my opinions on the synth. So if that interests you, please feel free to go ahead and click on the subscribe and bell buttons below. If you're already subscribed, huge welcome back, my friend. If this is your first time here, hi, welcome to the Midlight Synthesis. Let's get started. The Fourm is a compact little synth, yet it's pretty hefty in weight. It feels very well built with clicky backlit buttons and sturdy metal knobs that, when turning them, offer a resistance that reminds me of the much more expensive Pro 3. The LED screen, though tiny, is easy to read and offers critical information, but I do wish it offered a few reactive animations, like showing you the current ADSR envelope shapes when turning the corresponding knobs, or an oscilloscope, which I always find really useful when designing patches. On the back of the synth, you get a 5-pin MIDI in, out, and through port, foot switch or expression pedal in to control things like filter cutoff or volume, USB-C port, power input, 1/4-inch mono output, and headphone jack, as well as a security lock. The keybed is a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. On one hand, being poly aftertouch capable makes it incredibly expressive and powerful. On the other hand, these are tiny keys, and like all other tiny keys I played before them, they don't feel that amazing or have very much travel to them. But I guess it's something you just have to live with when you're aiming for this smaller form factor. The Fourm has 512 patch memory slots, divided into 2 sets of 256, where half are user banks that can be overwritten, and the other half are factory presets that are fixed into memory. The number of actual factory presets it comes with is surprisingly low, and being mainly a presetzer for myself instead of a from-scratch patch designer, at first I was a bit let down by that. However, since the Fourm is really easy to understand, making the sounds you need becomes very intuitive and fast, so I was quickly filling up my user banks with my own patches. This, in large part, because the workflow maintains the sequential spirit of keeping the musician in mind, and this is most apparent in the front panel layout, which is neatly organized in sections, so you can easily find your way around the synth, even without looking at the manual, but I'll get into that in just a second. Okay, so with that all out of the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, and let's check out the sound. I'm going to start out with a basic patch, and it's just going to be oscillator A here with a sawtooth. Now, this can do sawtooth, pulse wave, positive, negative, and you can of course sync it to the frequency of oscillator B. And now I'm going to start adding in oscillator B into the mix. Let's add some release here. Let's add some filter here. Now, oscillator B can also do triangle. Now, the second oscillator has another trick up its sleeve in that you can turn down the frequency all the way down into LFO range. And here in the mod matrix, I can just route this into the cutoff, for example. And I can mess around with the frequency. Now, low 1 keeps track of the keyboard, also known as keyboard tracking. And low 2 makes this independent of the note that I'm playing, so it acts more as a traditional FO. Next we have the filter section, which is a 4-pole resonant low-pass filter with bass compensation derived from the likes of the Prophet 5. This makes it so when you start adding up resonance, you don't lose any of the low end like you do on some of the classic Moog synths. filter is self-resonating, so it's really easy to get those nice synth zaps or make some acid sequences in here. The Fourm has two ADSR envelopes, one for the filter and one for the amp. And one thing that I really appreciate is just how snappy these are. Just listen to this. Excels at those classic synth string tones, you know, very profity sounds, like for example. And here I'm going to just slightly open up the filter. Let it breathe. Totally changes it. No effects. That's some of those funky vibes. Also, if you like that, I found this synth in my grandma's attic. Now, even though the Fourm doesn't come with built-in effects, you can of course simulate some effects with the LFOs. Now, here I have the LFOs going crazy, so I have kind of a delay. And the more I increase the release, the more delay I have. The mod matrix on the Fourm is pretty easy to understand because it's divided into destinations and sources, and it's color-coded. So here are my sources. I have the filter envelope, oscillator B, and LFO. And let's say oscillator B, which I've set here in low 2, which means it's an LFO frequency. If it's red, it means that the modulation is coming directly from the source. So if I set it to red on the cutoff, that means that oscillator B is directly affecting cutoff. The other way to route things is in blue, and in blue, it'll be tied to the modulation wheel. So let's set the cutoff to blue. Now I have LFO into cutoff, and it's not doing anything. But if I turn up the mod wheel, now I have that effect. But what if I want both of these? Well, if I want both red and blue sources to go into the same destination, I click it once more, and we have the color purple. And now I have oscillator B modulating, and if I turn up the mod wheel, I get both. Pretty simple. Same thing with the aftertouch. Here, it's set to the filter. So if I press down, I'll modulate the filter. Doesn't get much simpler than that. Now the Fourm only gets one LFO, but that LFO is doing some pretty heavy lifting. Now you get sawtooth, reverse sawtooth, you can do triangle, square, sample and hold, and in sample and hold you can also go into random, and you have different types of noise where you get pink, white, violet, and you also get DC. Now, pink might be one of my favorite ones because this is how I get that nice vintage sound. That just ages the synth decades. I love it. And of course you can sync it and you can mess around with combinations of the shapes. And quite frankly, it's just fun to get lost in the sound design in the synth. By the way, if you're wondering, yeah, the bass on this thing is pretty solid. Yeah, bass approved. Finally, the Fourm comes with a built-in arpeggiator and step sequencer, which is pretty basic, but it helps, especially when you're sound designing. Nice way to get a feel for the synth. The sequential Fourm feels like a return to the classics in many ways, and its simple, straightforward approach makes it extremely easy and fun to navigate. It has a lot more character than many other more expensive synths out there, and its intuitive workflow for sound design, combined with the poly aftertouch keybed, makes it a breeze to create expressive and lively patches. I would note though that at this price point, it also has a lot of stiff competition, especially hybrid synths that come with other add-ons like built-in effects, for example. So in the end, whether it's worth it or not will come down to your personal preference and what's missing in your own particular setup. All in all, the Fourm is a true synth-head synth, and if you've been looking for a way to get your hands on that sequential sound without selling a kidney, this might be a great way to get there. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, or at least entertaining. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.